There is a kind of tired that sleep does not fix. If you know the one I mean, you probably already understand what this video is about before I explain it. And I want to say the first thing clearly, because a lot of women carry this quietly for years before anyone says it out loud. You are not losing your mind, and you are not the only one. I know, because I lived it. I got the degree, then the graduate degree, and I walked into my first job believing the story many of us are told when we are young and ambitious. That if you are smart enough, disciplined enough, prepared enough, and willing to work harder than everyone else, the system will eventually pay you back. I believed the work would mean something, that the effort would be seen, that if I kept doing the right things, I would arrive somewhere that felt worth everything it had cost. For a long time, I thought the work itself would be the hardest part. It was not. The people were. I was good at engineering. I could handle complexity, pressure, moving pieces, difficult decisions, and the weight of knowing that mistakes had consequences. What I was not prepared for was everything that happened around the work. The politics, the conversations before the meeting, the decisions already half made before anyone sat down at the table. The trust built over drinks and golf weekends and side conversations in rooms I was never really invited into. And slowly, in a way I did not want to admit, I understood something. Walking into those rooms as a woman meant I started every day one step behind. Before I opened my mouth, I was already being measured, talked over, explained to, interrupted, and somehow still expected to be the one who would take the notes, remember the details, soften the mood, and make the room easier for everyone else to sit in. If I was agreeable, I was a pushover. If I pushed back, I was difficult. If I was direct, I was too intense. If I softened myself, I was not leadership material. If I spoke with confidence, I was aggressive. And if I stayed quiet long enough to choose my words carefully, I was told I lacked presence. There is no volume a woman can speak at that a room like that will always call correct. For years, I thought the answer was to keep adjusting myself. I learned to read the room before I entered it. I learned to make my voice steady, calm, clear, prepared, controlled. I learned to soften the parts of me that made people uncomfortable without disappearing completely, and to be strong in a way that still felt acceptable to people who were never asked to perform that same calculation. And that is the trap I wish I had understood sooner. I spent years adjusting the dial. The dial was never the problem. I thought if I simply became better, more prepared, more useful, more impossible to dismiss, it would eventually get easier. And in some ways it worked. I did become excellent. But excellence did not set me free. It made me more valuable to a system that had no reason to ask what it was costing me. Then I had a baby. And I learned that motherhood does not enter a career politely. It crashes into the version of you the workplace was comfortable with, and suddenly all the effort you made to seem endlessly available becomes impossible to keep up. 6 weeks, maybe 8 if you are lucky. And then you hand a newborn to someone else, drive to a parking lot, wipe your face, and walk into work as if nothing inside you has split open. I pumped between meetings. I answered emails when I should have been sleeping. I hit deadlines with a photo of my child near my desk, trying to prove nothing had changed, even though everything had. And when my child got sick, because children get sick, I learned how quickly support becomes conditional. The good projects quietly moved toward the people who could stay late, travel easily, make the after-hours drinks, show up on weekends, and play the game without childcare running in the back of their mind. My work had not slipped. My availability had. And in many workplaces, those two things are treated like the same thing. That is the part that is hard to explain unless you have lived it. You can be capable and still be punished for having a body, a family, a home, and a life that does not organize itself entirely around the company calendar. You can be a manager and still be expected to order the cake, plan the office lunch, remember the birthdays, and bring the warmth. Too much of a woman to be taken seriously. Just enough of one to do the invisible work nobody promotes. The balance they promised me never really arrived. There were commutes and deadlines and dinners no one had time to eat. Homework on the counter. School forms I forgot until the last minute. Arguments about drop-off and pickup. Bedtime stories rushed because a meeting ran late. And school events I watched later on someone else's phone because I was on a call. I gave work my mornings, my evenings, my patience, my focus, and my best thinking. My children got what was left. My marriage got what was left after that. And the whole time I told myself it was temporary. Just this quarter, just this project, just until the next promotion, just until things settled down. But it is never just this quarter. Most workplaces will not stop you from giving too much. They will simply learn to depend on it. And then, one day, they will look at you and wonder why you seem so tired. That is the part no one warns you about. They do not break you all at once. They let you trade yourself away in small, reasonable pieces, until one day you look up and realize you have been calling survival ambition. I hit my 40s and it all seemed to come due at once. People call it a midlife crisis. I do not think that is what it is, at least not for many women. I think it is a bill. It is the moment your body, your marriage, your children, your dreams, and the woman you used to be all come asking for what was deferred. It is the moment you look at the life you built and realize that, yes, it is impressive, and yes, you are grateful, and yes, you know other people might look at it and think you have no right to feel lost inside it. But you do. Because sometimes the life that looks successful from the outside is still too small for the person trying to breathe inside it. And then comes the question that is almost too frightening to ask. When does it end? For years, I thought it would end at the next level, the next title, the next salary, the next proof that I had finally earned the right to breathe. But the wheel does not stop because you are tired, and at some point, you have to stop calling exhaustion ambition. For me, that meant admitting something I did not want to admit. No one was coming to hand me back to myself. Not the company, not the promotion, not the next successful year. Not the version of me who thought that if she just worked hard enough, everything would finally feel worth it. If I wanted a life that felt like mine again, I was going to have to build something that belonged to me. Not because I have it all figured out. I do not. Not because I have a perfect plan. I do not have that either. But because I cannot spend another decade waiting for a system that benefits from my silence to suddenly make room for my life. So this is me stepping off the wheel in the only way I know how right now. Quietly, imperfectly, honestly. I am starting small. I am learning again. I am building again. I am making things that do not need permission from a room that was never built around my life. And if you are somewhere right now, exhausted in a way sleep does not fix, wondering why the life you worked so hard for still feels like it is swallowing you, I am not going to tell you to be grateful. You probably already are. That is not the problem. I am going to tell you that gratitude does not mean you have to disappear. Being responsible does not mean you have to abandon yourself. And being good at carrying everything does not mean everything should be handed to you. Maybe you are not broken. Maybe you are finally hearing the part of you that has been buried under all the things you were told to become. This is crude reality. I am not showing you this from the other side. I am showing it to you while I am still in it, while I build my way out. And if you are building yours too, then you already know the truth I needed someone to tell me. You are not doing it alone.